Hello, everyone. This is your host, Wade Franson, Created in the Image of God series, and I'm here in the studio with Valton Brown, who was born in Derby, Great Britain, with the son of Jamaican parents, and his multicultural background is part of what gives him his unique insights. Very excited to have him here in the studio. Welcome, Valton.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Valton just a couple of questions for this sneak peek about a couple of transformative experiences that give him his unique perspective, which is covered in his book, The Hidden Tree. The first one, Valton, you were sharing with me is when you were about 15 years old. What happened?
Yeah. Well, when I was 15, I had my own plans of trying to get into music and, doing some other grand things with my life. But I traveled to London to a convention that I knew my mother was going to be attending. Only because I knew I'd get onto the instruments. That was the plan, to get onto the drums and the guitars and stuff that I didn't have at home. So I sat at the back of this church while the service is going on, the furthest corner in the back of this building. It was sort of laid out with the old wooden pews, so you couldn't get past people very easily. And all I can say is it wasn't a message. It wasn't anything that was happening within the service particularly, because I was completely switched off from that. But all I can say is I remember being sat at the furthest corner at one point, and at the next minute, I'm at the front, knelt down. I'm just completely broken. And I can only describe it as being a video screen that was sort of playing in seconds the things that I was planning to do. And that's when God spoke to me, as crazy as that may sound, to say, are you willing to let go of this? And literally flashed each item in front of me in seconds. And that was the point at which I said, well, I choose you, and it was one of those life-changing moments, I think.
And your life's path really then as an adult coming of age springs from that moment. But you mentioned another transformative experience a few years later in Uganda. Tell us about that.
Yeah, again, another unexpected event. There's been a number of these, but I was invited to go to Uganda by a gentleman who operated the sound system in the local fellowship that I was in for this event. And it took them 2 years to convince me to go with them, just to see what they were doing. I went, and they had a medical outreach at a school that got this building, invited people from all around that didn't have money or any means of paying for anything, got volunteer doctors and other nurses, etc. And the lady that was there, called Christine, I'll never forget her, she, cutting a long story short, told me she's going to put a chair under that tree with an interpreter next to me, and she's going to send people to me. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do then? She says, oh, I don't know, pray, counsel, whatever God tells you. And she walks off. Now, I'm supposed to be observing, but out of obedience to this lady, I sat on this chair, and this first lady came to me. She had all sorts of problems. She sat on the lawn, and in seconds, again, I went through all the things I'd learned from studying the Bible, from church, teachings, etc. And I was just saying, well, that's not going to fit. That's not relevant. And I'm literally unpacking this until I realized I was completely empty. And so while I was there looking at this lady, I'm praying and saying, God, please tell me, what am I supposed to say to this woman who lives in Uganda with nothing, no titles, no money, nothing. And, he did speak to me, and I just shared with her as best I could what she needs to do, and then prayed with her. And she leapt off the ground into the air and started to dance around and screaming on top of her voice. And I'm thinking, what is this? What's just happened? And it was the first time that I came in contact with the fact that, because after that event, I was thinking about this, and I was convicted about what we call the gospel of the kingdom. And I realized at that point that if it doesn't relate to someone who is in the middle of a place like that, without any income, without any means, any support network, if it doesn't relate to someone like that, it's not the gospel. And so that was a point at which I began to review, what is it I believe? Who is it I believe in? And then it started to shape things moving forward from there, So it's been quite a journey.
Well, that's a wonderful synopsis of the tip of the iceberg that we're seeing at this moment of your book, The Hidden Tree. And we'll have a lot to talk about. I'd like to share my own experiences in India, backwater India, in an AIDS village, that have a similarity there. But to the guests, to the audience that is watching this sneak peek, this is one show you're not going to want to miss. So episode 97 of Created in the Image of God, on May 7th at 8 p.m. Central Time, we will be live with Valton Brown.